Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. And what we're going to make is bread. It's an easy recipe. It's French bread. If you don't want to make the bread in the mold or the shape that I'm doing today, it'll make three very skinny baguettes. It is a delicious bread. It's crispy and crusty on the outside, yet it's still delicate and light on the inside. So I can't wait to show you because I just love this bread and I love the recipe because it's so easy. And I went ahead and I made my dough in my bread maker or machine. You can make this by hand if you prefer. I use my makers because I think I have more consistency. It's easier for me, and well, it's just the way that I like to do it. Now I'm going to give you the recipe right off the bat because I'm sorry, but I don't give the recipe and write it down below the video anymore. So if you want to, give this recipe a try and grab a piece of paper, a pen, or whatever. I'm gonna hopefully go through the recipe slowly and clearly enough that if you want to give it a go, you'll have the recipe. So this is what you're going to need. First, you want to start off with 1.5 cups of water. Now the water needs to be anywhere from 70 to 78 degrees. And what I do is I just put the water in a microsafe mug, and I actually heat it in my microwave. It's quick and it's very easy. Now if you're using your machine as I did to make this bread on the dough cycle, do follow the directions because all machines are differently. Some want you to put the dry ingredients first and others are the wet, which is the water, like mine. So do follow your directions of what to put in, when to put it in. So once again, to repeat, 1.5 cups of that water that is tepid between 70 and 78 degrees. You're also going to be using 3 1/4 cups of flour. Now I used bread flour. I like the way it turns out. You can go ahead and use all-purpose. I think you'd like that as well. But I just find that the bread flour, to me, it just makes a better loaf. So that's really up to you whether you want to use bread flour, whatever brand, or your all-purpose. Feel free. That was 3 1/4. The next thing you're going to be using also is 1.5 teaspoons of sea salt that I like to put in it. Only 1.5 teaspoon. And the last thing, all that you need is 1 teaspoon of dry active yeast. And that's it. I mean, the recipe is short and simple. I hope you try it. Now, I did a little bit of a spin on it because I have a friend that just bakes everything in stoneware and brags about stoneware. So what I started to do was I took my stoneware tureen and I thought, you know what? I want to make a bread that I can cut out the center and use it for like a soup bowl. Or if you don't want to, you don't have to. It'll still make the loaf, and yet it'll have a round shape. So I really did it just to, to try it. And I was so impressed with not only the shape, but the idea of using a tureen. Of course, you don't have to have a tureen. You don't have to bake it in stoneware. You can do the baguettes if you want. You can make rolls out of this recipe and use whatever cookie sheet, cookie trays, or whatever you want to bake your bread on, but this is what I did. Now I want to show you the dough because I'm very impressed with it. I just wanted to grab a little bit of flour, which I forgot to put out, because I want you to see what it looks like. Okay, now it is a bit of a wet dough. So you might want to use your little, your little scrapers to pick it up. And I just, pull it out. It's quite elastic, as you can see. to get all the rest of it out because, you know, you hate to waste things now that things are so expensive to bake. And you can see it's sticky, you know, and you know, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking for some people, but it, you know, it's really not all that bad. And talk about easy. If any of you, you know, watched my videos before, that's what I like. I like quick and easy recipes, but I want them to be good too. And I just form actually just what I just did, nothing to it. And you really don't have to spray these or oil these or flour these and they come out beautiful because I've done it. But for some reason, I always kind of like I'm old school. I went ahead and I greased it a little bit and I floured it a little bit, but you really don't have to with stoneware. And then I just pick that up, plop it in there, okay, like that. Now what I do is I put a towel over it, and you want it to rise, and it might take you 20 or 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be double, but at least about 25% higher in the rise. But you do have to rise it. So put a towel on it, put it in a warm part of your kitchen or your baking area away from a draft and that kind of thing. Now you're going to bake it at 450 degrees. And it could take you anywhere from 20 to 30 to even 35 minutes because, you know, our oven's set up so differently. Now, when I make this soup bread, or terrine bread, I like to call it, it actually takes me close to almost 35 minutes. So it'll really depend on you to test it and, you know, decide how you're going to bake it with what... whether, you know, you're using a bread pan or a cookie sheet or you're doing the baguettes or whatever. And again, just a quick reminder, they make great rolls. They really do. And I usually get at least almost, I would say a dozen, depending how big you make your rolls, you know. I tend to like make my rolls around 3 ounces each, you know, but... Okay, so I'm going to push that aside. I went ahead and just rinsed my hands quickly. And I want to show you what this bread looks like. Now, once it comes out of that oven, because at 450, this bread is going to be pretty hot. Oh, and once that you do get the rise, if you want to wait till you feel it's more than 25% of a rise, before you bake it, feel free. And then at that time, I just take a scissors and I just lightly just cut across on it. And then also remember to dust it with a little bit of flour, and I didn't do that. And then I just dust the top a little bit with flour, okay, and before you you know, before it rises, okay? So I want to show you what it looks like. And this is how it turns out. You've got this beautiful round shaped, you know, bread. I didn't cut too deep in to make the cross. If you like, just cut a little bit deeper into it as I did. So maybe it's a little bit more noticeable if you like that, you know. It just bakes up beautiful. Now this is still warm. It's not hot, but it's warm. So I'm gonna grab a knife here to cut a piece for you to show you. Even though it's warm, and oh, the kitchen smells so good when you bake this French bread. And I don't know if you'll be able to even see the steam that's coming out of it. Oh, this bread is so good with some butter or margarine or jam or that type of thing. You'll have on the outside, you will have a crispy outside and the sides. And like I said, what I do is I generally carve this all out like a circle, and then I dig out the excess, and then I just let it, you know, after it's cool, of course, and then you can, with the bread that I don't use, once that I cut, you know, take the insides out of it, I dry and make croutons out of them. But you know, you don't have to if you don't want to. But anyway, it is just absolutely, it is just this bread. You can see it just springs right back, and all those beautiful little holes that are in the bread. Really great tasting loaf of bread. And like I said, I actually call it my terrine bread, or my soup bowl bread. Easy to make, quick to make, and a great tasting recipe. Again, sorry that I don't put the recipe on, and I'm not alone on it, that's for sure. But I always tell people, if you try the recipe and you like it, leave a comment, because I like to hear from you. Or if you have a question, and I will answer, hopefully in a timely fashion. And it's frustrating for me to see my work that's been posted or pinned or claimed as other people's property, and you've written me a question and I can't answer you, and it's so frustrating that it's not worth the time anymore to do so. So I hope that if you're going to give the recipe a try, in the beginning of the video you were able to jot those ingredients down. Okay, well, I want to thank you always for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube, because YouTube is the only place that I put my videos on. If you'd like to give the video a like or ring the bell, boy, I'd really appreciate it. So I want to thank you again for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.